So Akisa, this is what we have for the Ipsos poll.
All right, Ashley, thank you very much for that way to start this conversation this morning. It is a bigger story today, the findings of that survey conducted by Ipsos. Joining me in studio now is Executive Director of County Governance Watch to help us put into context whether this really are teething problems from devolution, being the first set of devolved governments just ahead of the August 8th polls, or really the county governments have just failed when health functions are concerned. Kevin, always a pleasure to have you here on Worldview. From the kind of research you've done, you've worked so many times with the county governments. Do you think that this function should be taken back to the national government?
Good question, Akisa, and my response is no, because note that Schedule 4 of the Constitution of Kenya, which was very well supported by a big majority of Kenyans during our 2005 referendum and, of course, 2010 promulgation, supports devolution. So if you look at the devolved functions, and the biggest question probably should be, why did Kenyans rally behind a devolved system of governance? One of the good things that Kenyans wanted to see was that power would then be moved closer to the people. That is one. Number two, Kenyans wanted an opportunity to engage directly with the decisions on serious issues and concerns on matters that affect them. And one of those matters that really affect Kenyans that County Governance Watch has also been assessing very closely is the health service delivery. Now, one of the biggest challenges and issues that I have with this study by Ipsos is that, in service delivery and governance and leadership per se, we have two sets of people. We have duty bearers, the people who are actually meant to deliver those services and who are tasked with the responsibility of doing the work. And then we have the right holders. And Article 43 of the Constitution enshrines and gives the various rights of the people, including right to health. So we have the second slot of people who are called the right holders. So these right holders must be given an opportunity to be able to make the decisions on serious concerns about matters health. And so for us, taking back health service delivery to the national government is really against the spirit and the letter of the Constitution. It is not in the best interest of many Kenyans.
Let's take a look at how Kenyans, from that survey, what Kenyans really said. 53% of them say they want this function to go back to the national government, while 37% of them say that this should remain in the county. But on the flip side, 81% of Kenyans want devolution to remain. So it means they still have faith in devolution. So what could be the reasons why they think specifically health should go back to the national government? Can this be attributed to the number of industrial actions we've seen from the doctors and now the nurses?
And doctors and nurses, service providers have a right to strike again and, of course, to demonstrate, because that is a right that, again, is given to them and any Kenyan by the Constitution of Kenya. But I agree with those who are of the opinion that, yes, of course, 80% plus support devolution. But if you look at why people would probably be thinking that health service delivery is an issue, is because of the manner in which the services are being delivered. And I'll look at this from two levels. The first level is the level of the national government. And I think that the people who are speaking for the government should begin getting very honest with Kenyans, because many of the interviews that I have watched, and people, including the CS and everyone who is trying to deal with these issues from the national government, they are not being honest with Kenyans. And if you talk to governors, because again, we engage very closely with them in the work that we do, because we must have good content on what we are doing as an organization and, of course, communicating to Kenyans. If you speak to governors, they have no problem signing the CBA and, of course, engaging even nurses and paying them whatever amounts they have. But looking at the long term, it is a good discussion to have. But from the national government, there is no spirit and goodwill for them to be able to, one, give monies to the county governments. And so governors are saying, you send these good people back to us, where is the money that we are going to pay them? And if you talk to many of these counties, a lot of counties have done extremely very good work insofar as health service delivery is concerned.
So what? The national government is being dishonest this time round?
Precisely, they are being dishonest, and that's why citizens are of the opinion that we want this thing taken back, because probably they think that governors are not being honest with them. But if you look at the details behind what is happening right now, I think that the national government must be very honest, because if devolution then supports services such as health, and 80% plus of Kenyans that Ipsos spoke to support devolution, then how come 53% of that again want services that are very close to the hearts of Kenyans, like health, to be taken back to national government? It means there is something that is not very clear. And part of what is not very clear is the dishonesty of the national government insofar as the delivery of health services is concerned. Because again, taking back health services to the national government is a constitutional issue, and you know it will require serious monies to be spent in a referendum. It's not something that the president will sit with tyranny of numbers and say, ladies and gentlemen, from today, take back health service delivery to the national government. It will not happen.
Let's take a look at what is happening right now with the nurses' strike. The nurses say that they had done all the engagements as far as the CBA is concerned, but when it comes to signing, then stumbling blocks are put on the way. The SRC has an objection to that CBA. Governors have said all we need is a no objection note from the SRC for us to disburse these funds. So are the counties caught in a very tricky situation with this particular case?
Yes, of course. And sometimes I wonder what's happening with SRC, because again, when we talk about dishonest institutions or commissions, in my view, again, from the work that we do, SRC has been very watermelonish, if I could say that, because there is no way you can look at same government, same institutions, you give very nice fruits to this side of the block, and then you want to give very rotten pieces to this other side. I think that Madam Serem should also begin to closely interrogate the effects of this kind of strikes, because it really disheartens many of us when our fellow Kenyans are passing away because they just lack someone to go and switch on the oxygen. You know, it's not in good faith of what again Kenyans expected of devolution. So, in my view, I think and believe that serious multi-agency formation from both national and counties, and of course we have seen this happening, but I think that honesty should be one of those principles that is going to continue guiding the process of negotiation insofar as nurses and doctors and of course general service delivery issues are concerned, because in many parts of this country people are still asking, where is the water that you are promised? You know, simple things like water, in my view, because water is life, and without water there is no life, and that's why probably we have issues with again health issues. So part of what we need to do is honesty, because it might surprise you that in 2013, when devolution began, we had 6,620 nurses. In 2016, while we were doing the second devolution devolution conference, there were 25,597 nurses. Now, these are numbers that I'm sure do not shock either the national or the county governments, because they keep records of those who are coming from medical training colleges. They keep records of those who are being absorbed. They keep records of those who are, of course, falling off through national attrition. And these are numbers that I don't think are shocking them in any way. So they should have planned. And governance and leadership demands that part of what you need to do through your system is to ensure that you have systems that are guided by clear plans. And part of those plans through our devolved governance is the county integrated development plans. And you have chief officers, you have CECs, just like you have at the national level where we have the cabinet secretary, who should be able to keep in track of what statistics we have, which then guide budgeting and allocation of resources.
Okay, let's take a look at that survey once again. In Northeastern, 55% said that they want that function to remain in the county governments, the highest number, followed by Rift Valley at about 50%, with Central being the lowest with 30%, most of them in Central saying, take this function back to the national government. According to regions and counties, what does this say about the health functions and the service delivery in these particular counties?
Akisa, you're asking me a very difficult question. It's difficult because you're pushing me political. There is no way Northeastern will say yes to devolution and Central says no.
No.
And Ipsos should be very clear in what intentions they have with some of their pollings. Because the same study, I heard my sister saying that Central region is against devolution and that NASA supporters have a feeling that
Yes.
devolution should stay. Of course, it gives you the response that, and of course, the narrative has been that NASA principals are the fathers and mothers of devolution, and they mean good for us as Kenyans because of devolved governance, and that Jubilee is they didn't support devolution, so they are against devolution. So it gives you a good reason to, of course, correlate why Central would say no
Yeah.
to devolution, and then Northeastern says yes. That's one. Number two, regional marginalization. Northeastern province, in fact, when I said that there are counties that have done very well insofar as some of these services like health is concerned, Northeastern counties have actually done very well. And it's because of their past. And when their counties, their governors came into office, they had very clear plans. And the spirit of the people was that we have suffered enough for us to be able to now lose this opportunity to gain from some of these, to make some of these gains from devolved governance. And one of those areas which they were very clear about was health service delivery. And that is why I would agree with them that, yes, of course, they have most of the benefits that have accrued from health service delivery have been through the work that counties and the governors in Northeastern province have done. So they actually relate very closely. But Central province historically has been the powerhouse of the country. So any little monies that we have, take it to Central, and so they have very, very good services. So health, insofar as, in their view, insofar as health is concerned, it will not be an issue because tumekuwa tukiona kama madaktari wako, ukitaka kuona nurse, utampata. Kama ukihitaji dawa, kuna dawa kwa pharmacy. But that has not been the story for Northeastern